seated at all times with your hands, faces, cameras, and children inside the car at all times. And remember, no eating, drinking, or smoking during our journey. Now, are you guys ready to take a ride on the wild side? Wow, not at all. Oh, okay. There we go. Little enthusiasm. I know it's late in the day, but we got a lot of cool stuff to see here. My name is Grace. I'll be your monorail driver and tour guide. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We begin by crossing over the beautiful Bronx River. It's a natural habitat for ducks, turtles, fish, the first 2 beavers in New York City history in over 200 years, and a variety of migrating birds. As we come into our first meadow, prepare to be shocked, astonished, and amazed at the sight of absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, the deer and antelope in this meadow have gone over the hillside. We'll catch up with them in a little bit.
ইসরায়েলি এখানে হরিণ থাকে বলতেছে বলতেছে ইসরায়েলি এখানে হরিণ থাকে এখন আজকে নাই সব ইয়াতে চলে গেছে ময়ূর
Males or the boys are called peacocks. The females or the ladies are called peahens.
Peahens.
And when they have babies, those adorable balls of fluff are called pea chicks. They're so small they can fit in the palm of your hand.
বলতেছে এখানে হরিণ থাকে ইসরায়েলি আজকে নাই এখানে সব পাহাড়ে চলে গেছে
Coming up on your right, we're about to pass 2 replica huts. They represent an important conservation story about a deer we'll see later on today. So let's listen.
In 1970, there were estimated to be only 66 of the Barasingha deer remaining in central India. But this population was saved by the cooperation of the local Indian community. Like the shacks you see here, there were many small farms using space in and around India's Kanha National Park. These people were coming into contact with the deer and the tigers that were also living there. Through cooperation with the Indian government, local communities agreed to relocate their villages. By moving, the farmers still had land to farm, but the tigers and their prey got more room to roam.
Now, we all know that when a species is extinct, it no longer exists, like the dinosaurs. And the horses we're going to see next were also extinct in nature, but they survived in captivity, and that's how we're going to get a great close-up look at our Mongolian wild horses as we come into our next meadow.
horse.
This species is the only true species of wild horse alive today. And you'll notice they do look different than traditional domestic horses. These wild horses have shorter legs, a stockier build, and that erect mane that sort of resembles a mohawk haircut.
এটা বললে কিন্তু আর পারবো না আমি
It's also missing a forelock. That's the piece of hair that usually hangs down over a horse's forehead, adding to that distinctive look. Now, captive breeding of Mongolian wild horses first started with a group of only 28 animals way back in 1901. Here at the Bronx Zoo, we got our first wild horses in 1902, and we maintained our herd since way back then. That means the horses you see here today could be descendants of that early 1902 herd, giving them over 100 years of history. And of course, the actual history of these Mongolian wild horses dates back much farther than that. So as we come up the hills, through the rest of their pasture, let's start
The first accounts of Mongolian wild horses come from rock engravings, paintings, and even cave drawings that date back more than 20,000 years. And the first written accounts were from Tibet, sometime around 900 AD. But these horses remained largely unknown and unnamed to the Western world for many years. During an expedition to Central Asia in 1879, a famous Russian explorer and naturalist, Colonel Nikolai Przewalski, encountered the horse in western Mongolia. Because of his discovery, this species is also known as Przewalski's horse.
A reminder, everyone does need to please remain seated at all times, including children. They're welcome to sit in seats or in laps, but they must remain seated. Now, as we come into our next exhibit, we're going to see our beautiful brow antlered deer grazing on the hillside here. Brow antlered deer get their name from the curved shape of the male deer's antlers, which resembles a human eyebrow. But you won't find any of those antlers out here, because our curved herd is all female. brown antlered deer are currently classified as vulnerable. That means they're one step away from being endangered. They're losing their natural grazing lands where they eat to farms that are taking over. And in some areas must resort to eating crops, not at all what nature intended. Now coming up on your right in the far back of the exhibit, all the way in the back, you can see the gaur. They are the largest wild cattle in the world. They're all sitting together on the hillside in there. It's hard to tell from here, but those males stand up to 6 foot tall at the shoulder. 10 feet long. Kinsman puts all your dads to shame. Those males can weigh as much as 2,000 pounds. It's basically a small car, but with horns. The gaur are also endangered, threatened by diseases they're catching from domestic cattle, as well as by the destruction of their natural habitat. We're doing everything we can to help increase their numbers in the wild, and here's how.
Here at the zoo, we help gaur and brown antlered deer and many other species by participating in a cooperative zoo management program called Species Survival Plans. The name says it all. The plans aim to help these animals survive. Zoos across the country work together to maintain genetically diverse populations of rare and endangered species.
Yeah, so just when you think you're in the heart of wild Asia, you get that delightful roar and rumble of traffic going by, reminding you, fences such as these help keep some of that noise and chaos away from our animals, allowing them to lead a more peaceful and motorcycle-free existence. As we come into this next meadow, please do remain seated, but keep your eyes peeled. We're on the lookout for a Siberian tiger. And he's standing at the top of the hill. So as you come forward, look all the way to the back of the exhibit. He's all the way at the top there. This is Pachuta. He is our oldest Siberian tiger here in wild Asia. He is 11 years old. He weighs about 400 pounds. You can see him standing up at the top of the hill there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Tiger, Royal Bengal tiger.
You see the tiger?
Tiger.
Tigers are solitary creatures. They live one at a time in the wild. Once they reach adulthood, again, you're still looking up the hill. He's kind of stalking around back there. But we only keep one tiger at a time. They fight each other once they reach adulthood, so we certainly don't want to encourage fighting over territory. The only time you'll see them hanging out together is when they are cubs, and you can sometimes see those cubs out over at Tiger Mountain.
Is this Tiger Mountain?
As we come forward, we are going to see the back of our previous exhibit, which means not only are we going to see the gaur a little closer up, but we'll also see those brown antlered deer around the edge of the exhibit.
Wow.
Bulls.
Then we're coming into the back of our first exhibit, kind of like what we call the greatest hits tour of the monorail. And you're going to see some beautiful spotted deer. These are axis deer with bright white spots, males with really majestic antlers. You see a lot of our peafowl as well. And if you look back into the middle of the meadow, you'll also see our black-buck antelope with their white bellies back there. Black-buck antelope found throughout India and also in parts of Pakistan and Nepal. And then as you come forward, you're going to look down to the right, and you will also see our Barasingha deer. We heard a story about them at the start of our trip. Barasingha get their name from a Hindi word that means 12 signs, referring to how large those antlers grow to be. They can have 12 to 14 points. So a lot of deer in quick succession there. But we're going to switch gears, and next out, we're going to be on the lookout for a special type of pig called a babirusa. They're small and dark gray, so don't mistake them for rocks. You guys are serious wildlife explorers. I think we can pull it off. When you reach the bamboo shoots, you're going to be looking straight down and to the right. Our male hickory likes to run back and forth here. Oh, there he goes. Just being a little tricky, but there he goes. He's going to just kind of keep pacing back and forth there, so look down as you enter. Our female kiwi's doing the same thing in front of the log in the second exhibit. She's a little harder to see because of the foliage there.
Chick. Peek.
babiruses are found on the Indonesian
Pig.
island of Sulawesi, and their name means pig deer in the Malayan language. You can find more of our babiruses just outside of the children's.
এটা অনেক দূরে আছে তো দেখি অনেক দূর
Now, as you come into our next exhibit, you might be a little confused. What on earth is this giant swimming pool doing here? Well, it's certainly not for your tour guides or zookeepers. It's in fact for one of the largest animals you'll find here at the zoo. How about an
Hathi,
Asian
mone hai.
elephant? These
Ah,
stunning
hathi.
All right, we are going to get a stunning close-up view of two best friends forever named Patty and Maxine. So Patty's on the right, Patty's on the left, rather. Maxine walking on the right.
কোথায়
These lovely ladies are in their 40s and they weigh in at over 10,000 pounds apiece.
ও
In their 40s? Yeah.
পৌড়ি
Now those trunks have 40,000 muscles in them. With a finger-length feature on the end, they use to pick up small items. And you see those trunks are also good for noise making when they need to communicate with each other.
Hello.
But as we say goodbye to Patty and Maxine, we're about to say
Patty
a very
and Maxie.
close hello to Penny, our Indian rhinoceros. She's coming down the hill towards us.
It's a rhinoceros!
So do remember
Eleven. Oy, Gondar.
Oh!
Niche.
She's directly below you.
Oh my god!
She could not be any closer to you guys in the big tree car right here.
এটার কি বলেছে কি নাম
গন্ডার
গন্ডার
He's a pretty fun.
গন্ডারের চামড়া
Now, this is Penny. She is a 16-year-old Indian rhinoceros. It may look as though her skin is thick and tough like armor, but in fact a rhino just has one thin layer of skin folded over several times, and that's why they look so wrinkly. In reality, she's very sensitive to sun and to insects just like we are, but since she doesn't have sunscreen or bug spray to rely on, she uses something called a mud wallow. It's like a giant mud puddle that a rhino builds for itself by stomping and rolling around in the mud until cool water pools up in the middle so they can bathe in it any time they want. We'll pass Penny's mud wallow in just a minute. When you see a giant mud puddle, you'll know that's where she likes to stay cool. It's been here since Wild Asia opened back in 1977, and it's been shaped by all the rhinos who have spent time here over the years. Now today, all rhinos are highly endangered. Less than 2,000 Indian rhinos remain throughout India
Hi,
and
Naina.
Nepal. And one of the reasons why they're so endangered is because their horn is considered so valuable. Here's what sets that horn apart from others.
The horn of a rhinoceros is very different from that of a goat or antelope. It is not attached to the skull. Rhino horn is made from compressed keratin fibers, the same material that is found in fingernails and hair. Although rhinos are protected for
না দেখে চলে গেলে কেমন হতো
still occur. Rhinos are killed for their body parts. Some people believe that this horn has special medicinal powers. It is also used as medicine in some traditional Asian medicine. And the rhino horn is also prized in some cultures for making dagger handles.
All right, here comes the true test, wildlife explorers. You thought you saw a lot of deer before, but we are about to double our deer count. As you enter our next meadow, you're going to see a bunch of hog deer hanging out there. The small tan deer you see there, that's as big as hog deer gets. And then these very large dark brown deer, you can see one of the females climbing the fence for some choice vegetation. Those are the sandbar deer.
হরিণের বাগান
Usually up to 650 pounds with antlers that can grow to be 3 feet tall. Now you're going to see some orange deer with bright white spots. These are Formosan sika deer native to the island of Taiwan. They haven't been seen in the wild since the early 1970s, but we've got one of the largest herds in the world right here at the World Zoo. So the little tan one together, hog deer, the medium-sized deer with white spots are Formosan sika deer. The large ones with the antlers that are very, very large and robust, those are sambar deer, the largest of the Southern Asian deer species. And then the two tiny reddish-brown deer in the very middle of the meadow are Indian muntjac deer. And they are fully grown Indian muntjac deer. We're used to seeing deer in the United States that grow to be very large, but some deer stay small for their entire life. The hog deer and the Indian muntjac deer are just two examples. So our deer and all of our animals here in Wild Asia have a lot of room to roam. 40 acres set aside specifically for Wild Asia. So our deer spread out a lot throughout the course of the day. You'll see more of our hog deer nestled up along the fence rotula coming up here. In the late afternoons, all those deer cluster together because they know it's almost time for them to go home too. They're getting excited looking for dinner. But in the mornings, they start out on the right-hand side of the stream we're about to pass. They all like to graze in the open grass on the right. And then they work their way back across the meadow over the course of the day. So if you ride the monorail at different times, you never know what you might find.
That should be like a wall sign for Mr. Kipling.
In this next meadow, we'll be looking for one last deer species, a very small and shy deer, China's tufted deer, and we're really in luck. We're going to get a great view of them out and about. As we come forward, you're going to keep your eyes on the back fence line, and that's where you'll find our tufted deer. There's two of them in plain sight along the hillside there. And we're going to go really slow here because we're about to see a baby, which is always really exciting. You're going to see a baby tufted deer just at eye level. So those of you in the last half of the train, you're looking up at the top of the hill for the adult tufted deer, which weigh about 40 pounds on average. And then when you come to the middle of the meadow, point it out to the people in the car next to you. That's one of our brand new babies. She's got white-tipped ears. That's what's to look for. They also have a white rump and tail that they sometimes flash as deer communication, just like the white-tailed deer here in New York. They use that especially to help those fawns, which is what we call baby deer, find their moms when they think they are in trouble. It helps them follow them when they need to run quickly. These beautiful little deer are very rare in zoos outside of China. So we're quite lucky to have them here with us at the Bronx Zoo, and even luckier to have seen that whole family out and about today. They usually play hide and seek with us here at the monorail. But now we are coming back across the Bronx River at the highest point of our journey, 35 feet above the water. A beautiful view and a lovely day.
We were all wearing Look at that water. The water is so hard. That's far.
Bronx River.
Coming up, we're going to see our Himalayan tar. They're scattered around the middle of this meadow, so just look to the middle as you enter. A lot of them around the rock facing in the middle here. Our tar have been getting a little aggressive lately, so keep your eyes out. Every now and then they'll butt horns at each other. These are the Himalayan tar. They are relatives of the wild goat. They're well adapted to the
deer,
and
lot of
mountainous
deer.
areas of the Himalayas.
Bangladesh's motto.
Climbing that rock in the
অনেকগুলো
meadow,
deer.
the middle of the meadow. And they do that with ease because they have a special rubbery sword in their hooves that allows them to grip the rocks, much like the sole of a mountain boot does for us. So the Himalayan tar are well adapted to this environment. They also have those beautiful curved horns. They curve backwards and inwards in a triangular shape, and that's to prevent serious injuries from happening during the vicious head-butting battles that take place throughout their mating season. The tar can be very aggressive when trying to impress each other.
Mountain Rail.
Now, unfortunately, our red panda he's coming back into view. Hopefully he'll stay in view. If you look down as you enter, he's literally just crawled back into view. This is we are having the best luck on this tour. He's going to start scaling the trees, it looks like. Oh, please stay in view, Walter. Don't disappear. Now, so if you guys keep looking down to the ground, you may be able to see him. Walter, our red panda, he does get out easily.
এটার নাম মনে মন্টু
He's away. He often goes to his zookeepers looking for snacks.
কি জানি
Napping though, curled up in the branches out in the high parts of that tree. I'm only a little jealous. People have always been fascinated by the color of the red panda. All the red pandas.
এটা কি নাম রেড প্যান্ডা পান্ডা পান্ডা red panda.
People often ask
Red
why the
panda.
red panda looks so different from the black and white giant panda. And that's because the two species aren't actually that close to
ছোট একটা ঘর বানায় এখানে রাখছে ছোট একটা ঘর বানায় রাখছে
Instead, the red panda is more closely related to skunks, raccoons,
যাতে যাতে 7:08 বাজে
এটা তো অনেক বড়
so you can't choose
আমি তো এক চক্কর বানাই
আমি তো সেটাই মনে করছি
এটা অলমোস্ট 20 মিনিট হয়ে গেছে
to the end of our journey.
শেষ হয়ে গেছে মানে
Finish up here. Oh, don't
Finish
worry
up.
too much. It's okay. The zoo isn't closed yet. You still have time.
It's still not tired.
I'm going to take a moment to tell you just a bit more about us here at the Wildlife Conservation Society. We're working to save wildlife and lands all around the world. We've got scientists in the field at over 300 sites in over 50 countries. So if you love taking care of your pets and are considering a future in working with animals, be sure to keep the Wildlife Conservation Society in mind. Maybe you could be a zookeeper one day, or out in the wild tracking a tiger. Now we are going to come to a brief stop here to allow the train in front of us to load up with passengers and head out on its way. It'll be a really brief stop, but please do remain seated. We'll board just as soon as I get the all clear.
That was a good trip. We're back?
Yeah, let's mommy take this and daddy will pick you up.